right, so good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Today is July 22nd, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority. Present by telephone, by video conference, is Commissioner Ford. Or good afternoon, everyone. Today is July 22nd, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority. Does anybody have their YouTube by telephone, by video conference? Is Commissioner Ford. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is July. Does anybody have the YouTube feed going on this meeting?
I'm sorry, that was me.
Please turn it off. That's creating the echo.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. All right, so we'll start here again. This is July 22nd, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority. Present by video conference is Commissioner Ford in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, and Commissioner Fan on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Chairman Bradley will not be participating in today's meeting. He's not available. We also have myself, Secretary to the Authority Donahue from the Authority's Albany office, and Council Meyerhoff also participating via this WebEx meeting. We conduct this meeting pursuant to the Governor's executive orders, which suspend or modify certain provisions of the Open Meetings Law. We've got one item on today's calendar. It is item 787M, Bovacar Inc., which is Queens OP 1279595. It's a request from Council's office for an emergency summary order of suspension. So with that, I'll turn it over first to Council Meyerhoff.
Hi, Tom. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, and thank you, members, for joining on short notice. This case is going to be presented by Margarita Marsico. Margarita, hopefully you are on the line and you can go forward right now.
Yes. Good afternoon, members. On behalf of Council's office, we're requesting that the members issue an order of summary suspension as to this licensee doing business as La Pollera Colorada, which means the red skirt. The official name is Bovacar Incorporated, under case number 1442080, serial number 1279595. This premises is located in Queens on Northern Boulevard in Jackson Heights, New York. Northern Boulevard has quite a few premises located on it. The precinct that covers this premise is the 115th precinct, which has been working very closely with the SLA during the pandemic. And our Enforcement Bureau has been in close communications with the precinct. And I can just tell you from experience working with this captain and the Special Operations Lieutenant is that they are extremely professional. They're very communicative with the licensees. And then they do, they're not shy about taking enforcement action when necessary. The first incident that happened with this licensee was back on May 4th of 2020. We don't know if there was a problem with the mail. I'm surprised that we didn't get this sooner, but it only got into our system in July. But on May 4th of 2020, which would have been phase one, at 1:45 in the morning, a patrol officer from the 115th precinct saw 5 patrons inside the premise drinking with the owner present. His name is Julio Real, and the precinct is very familiar with him. Mr. Real, the excuse he offered to the officers was that they were celebrating his wife's birthday. And if you'll see from the police paperwork, the police indicated that the patrons refused to disperse after the police asked them to disperse. I spoke to the captain and the Special Operations Lieutenant today, and they reaffirmed to me that they have been very communicative with this licensee throughout the pandemic, throughout phase one and phase two. And they've explained to him in very simple terms what the rules are. And when they were in phase one, obviously, there was no drinking on the premise. Everything had to be in a sealed cup and to go with food. and we had these communications directly with Mr. Real. The next incident that happened with the licensee, which we already charged, occurred on June 10th of 2020, which had also been in phase one. At 7:40 p.m., a police officer observed a patron drinking from unsealed cups in front of the premise. And again, they reiterated to the manager the rules. And incidentally, we did serve that notice of pleading. You know, the things don't come out perfectly in date order, but we served it on July 2nd. And we know that the received that notice of pleading because their attorney, Tim Alnwick, has requested a bill of particulars from Alex Lloyd, the prosecutor, on the case. The next incident was, in the paperwork, you'll see, the members, you'll see that the officers indicated there would be a follow-up inspection, and they actually went back the next day on June 11th at 8:30 p.m. And that's when they saw a visibly intoxicated patron in front of, drinking from a container that was not sealed. Again, the licensee was told that he was not permitted to allow people to linger in front of, and he was given a lot of warnings. That incident was also charged by the SLA under case number 142750. The notice of pleading was dated June 17th, so it was served around that time. And we have gotten a bill of particulars request, so we know that they've received that notice of pleading as well. After that, our Enforcement Bureau attempted to assist the precinct in enforcement, and on June 26th of 2020, Investigator Stravali went to the licensed premise, and he observed that there were 5 employees not wearing any face masks, and that there were 3 patrons consuming beer and people lingering in the white tent. Now, it's just, you know, I get the impression from this precinct that they, or actually I know from the special ops lieutenant, that he was literally walking up and down Northern Boulevard a lot during the months of May and June, talking to the licensees, warning the licensees, telling what the rules were. So there's no way that the licensee at this point was ignorant of what he was supposed to be doing. We attached a packet of information that was actually given to the licensee on June 25th. You'll see at the top of the packet, there's a note from the lieutenant. His name is Lieutenant Suresti. He is the Special Operations Lieutenant. That is a packet that he had one of his officers hand to Mr. Julio Real in conjunction with phase 2. All the rules that were required in terms of, you know, outdoor dining. And he spoke to Mr. Real on June 25th, and Mr. Real said, okay, you can have an officer drop it off to my female manager. So he dropped off the packet on June 25th, and yet on June 26th, we see this violation that was observed by Investigator Stravali. Also, the Special Operations Lieutenant told me that around this time, I think on June 26th, he told the licensee, it's a wrap, quote unquote, it's a wrap at 11 p.m. If some people are drinking, they have to be sitting and they have to be eating. There's no standing. Tables and chairs must be inside, you know, by 11 p.m. And he told Mr. Real that he is responsible for any activities on the part of the patrons within 100 feet. And that's a direct quote from the lieutenant when I spoke to him today. So he was very clear with the licensee. And the precinct, as you see, also contacted the Department of Transportation because they were concerned about the platform that this licensee was using, because it appeared to be going beyond the frontage of the licensed premise. When they discussed this with Mr. Real around the June, as soon as the platform was set up, Mr. Real said that he had sent the blueprint to the Department of Transportation and that, you know, everything had been approved. However, the officers realized that Mr. Real also owns the next door premise to Beauregard. And actually, you know, we had observed in March, when he did a March inspection, that he was illegally expanding into this premise before it was actually licensed to sell alcohol. So as a result of that enforcement action, Mr. Real apparently shut down the next door premise, sealed it, but was nonetheless expanding this platform to the front of the next door premise. And not only was he using that frontage to expand his platform, he was also using the inside doorway of this next door premise to blast music from a speaker to entertain the patrons on the platform. And so that is obviously a violation. The next violation that we've charged in this summary suspension proceeding is for July 18th of 2020, when Investigator Stravali returned and he observed at least 25 patrons lingering in front of the licensed premise, not social distancing, not wearing masks, and the bouncer was also not wearing a mask. So I can't really, I mean, we've done a lot of these summary suspensions. I can't think of too many that have had as much communication as this licensee has had. He's had it in writing, he's had it in summonses, he's had verbal, and he just doesn't seem to want to follow the rules. And by the way, you'll see that the Department of Transportation issued a cease and desist order with regard to the platform, because we don't know the exact basis, but the person who gave that order to the police indicated it was his belief that the Department of Transportation issued that order because the platform was too wide and extended too far out. So the Department of Transportation also believes that this licensee is not following the rules. He has extensive adverse history. There's apartments that are above this licensed premise. It's not strictly commercial, it's mixed. He's paid $9,500 in fines in the past. There's a disorderly premise from December 2017, over occupancy in June of 2019, noise in June of 2019, disorder, 2 more instances of disorder, 2018 and 2017. I know that the precinct actually had the DEP go out to a lot of the premises on Northern Boulevard within the last week, and I don't know if there's a violation recently with the DEP, but clearly noise is an issue with this premises, according to the officers. So it's clear to counsel's office that this licensee is going to continue operating however they see fit without regard to the law that they've been instructed on. They've been given SLA guidance, they've been given Department of Transportation guidance. There's not much more guidance that they could receive. And they are also represented by a very experienced liquor lawyer who's currently handling 2 disciplinary matters. So I don't know what else we could do to cause them to become more compliant aside from summarily suspending them. We're trying to avoid a spike. Queens is obviously a very problematic area in terms of, people getting sick. And this is a young crowd that they're attracting. So I just think what he's doing, he's really playing with fire, and he's presenting a danger, an imminent danger to the community there. So for those reasons, we're requesting that you summarily suspend this license.
Thank you, Margarita. This is Gary again. Just to add to what Margarita said, in your packet, you should have pictures that reflect on July 18th, which is just a few days ago, people standing not social distancing, without masks, in between the building frontage and the seating area that's on the street. There also appear to be people standing in between the tables in the seating area. The tables also look very close together. There are a number of violations of the New York City's outdoor seating plan. And just to remind the members, these are special privileges that were extended to licensees across the state in connection with an executive order to expand outdoor seating, but only as long as the outdoor seating complied with the rules that the municipality in which the licensees were located were followed. And New York City has an application program that makes it very clear what those rules are. One of the rules that Margarita was talking about was that your seating area can't extend beyond the frame of your premises extended. So to be around the corner or further on the street is a violation. That is apparently one of the violations of the New York City ordinance. Margarita went on at length about the law enforcement in this neighborhood doing outreach. And I think it's helpful to understand why this licensee is deserving of no excuse. But just for the record, we are at a point in this pandemic based on what these licensees have been through, from closing to having the ability to serve takeout and delivery for the first time, to having new rules constantly. And it is their responsibility to serve in a manner that's consistent with the executive order, because if they don't do so, they are directly affecting the potential health and welfare of not just their employees and patrons, but of the entire city. And the governor has made countless speeches about how, if they don't if the bad ones, the ones that are not controlling this, don't take action to ensure that the rules are being followed, the penalties, the health risks are severe and the penalties are severe. So we may see other cases where they don't have as many warnings as this one. My view and counsel's office's view is you don't even need that to know that when people are standing and milling between your seating area and your building without masks, that is a huge problem and that you're in violation. And this licensee apparently decided that it was more important for him to earn a few extra dollars and not stop serving in this way. And for that reason, it cannot be trusted to follow the rules. And as Margarita said, a suspension is the only way to ensure that happens.
All right, with that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, I think your mic is off, Commissioner.
No, I do not. I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Ford.
This next door area that he owns, this next door store or area that he owns, that was not licensed and technically still isn't licensed, correct, by us? He's not made a request to add it.
That's correct.
Okay. The DOT ordered cease and desist for the platform. Do we know if it's still there?
I don't know. I can find out, Commissioner.
No,
I believe
fine.
the cease and desist may have just happened. I'm trying to scroll through this.
Dated the 21st.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I think they issued it, yesterday.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, so may not be down yet. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Commissioner Fan, did you have something?
No, I do not.
Okay. With that, then, I'll ask for your vote. Commissioner Fan.
This licensee clearly have full knowledge of the rules and have been updated by the police outreach effort as the rules change over the past few weeks. The Department of Transportation have clearly already taken away the privilege for any outdoor dining service. And it's clear that this licensee have already received multiple warnings and also actual pleadings from us for violating the governor's executive order. And it seems like nothing is stopping him, and he's, basically not taking responsibility for anything. So this establishment has become a waste of police resource, and it's posing imminent threat to public health, safety, and public health, safety, and welfare. And for that, I vote to summarily suspend this liquor license.
Thank you. Commissioner Ford.
Way back on May 4th, when New York City was just phase one, when it was just takeout, correct? May 4th was just takeout.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So he was permitting imbibing outside, from what I understand. So he was violating right out of the gate. He has made no effort to separate employees and customers to keep them safe by wearing masks and so forth. He is not maintain adequate supervision over the conduct of his premises. And there's also other, safety violations such as fire code violations, which we didn't really get too much into, but I see those always also listed in the notice of pleading. So for that and for all the reasons that Commissioner Fan has already stated, which I won't reiterate, I vote to summarily suspend.
Okay, then, thank you. All right, with that then, there's nothing else on the calendar. Since the chairman's not here, I'll ask Commissioner Ford, Commissioner Fan, anything else you want to raise?
No, thank you.
Great. Okay, with that then, this meeting is concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.